Good afternoon, my name is Cole Smith.
Hi, I'm Carly Irby.
And I'm Sandy Ingen.
And today we're talking about title and escrow. Okay, I'm Cole and I'm sitting here with Chicago Title and Escrow. And today we're going to talk about what is title, what is escrow, where in the process this occurs, and then we're going to talk about what is important to consider when you're purchasing a home and you're working with title.
My name is Carly Irby. I am the sales executive here with Chicago Title here in Island County, and I also serve San Juan Island.
And I am Sandy Ingen. I am the branch manager and an escrow officer here at Chicago Title. And I have 25, count them, years experience with Chicago this May coming up. 15 of that was spent in our Bellingham office as a sales manager, and 10 I have been on the island here as manager and escrow officer. I was actually recruited 25 years ago by a sales rep that worked for Chicago Title. I was in business with a gentleman selling real estate at the time, and had kind of started out as a licensed assistant, and that evolved into my being a partner. And Terry came and said, "Hey, what would it take to get you to come to work at Chicago Title?" And I said, "A lot. You can't afford me. I have a fun job." But in the end, they did persuade me. And I think I was just at a point in my life, early 30s, kind of started thinking about retirement and those things that real estate doesn't always afford. So
thanks for sharing that, Sandy. Carly, I have the same question for you. What got you here?
Fate got me here, Cole, actually. Yeah, truly. I would say, well, I have an extensive background in sales and in customer relations, customer experience, and I too was recruited. So I would say that customer relationships brought me to that opportunity. Okay. And so when I had the opportunity to apply, it felt super aligned for me, and the rest is history. I've been with Chicago Title since 2021.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yep. So a title company, we're a third party that works on behalf of both the lender and the buyer, and we research and insure your home and the title of the home, I should say, that you're buying. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we confirm clear title before a home purchase is made.
Okay.
I would only add to that, title insurance is like any other insurance product, really. It's a safeguard and offers a protection. Instead of protecting a tangible, like your homeowner's insurance, that protects the home and your things. Title insurance insures your title. And title is not actually a piece of paper. When you close on a transaction, you receive a deed, and you also receive title to the property. But again, title is not a piece of paper. It's a bundle of rights, really, that give you the right to occupy, use, access, resell your property. So that's what Carly was talking about when providing clear title. That's our job. We make sure that you have full force effect of all of those rights of the property that you purchase.
I would just say, because a really common question that I get is, well, what does a title company do? What are they actually looking for in the, when we're running a title search? Our role, it's really examining and searching through public records, and the facts that we're uncovering during that search are going to determine, whether the person who's selling the home actually has the rights to sell that home, that they're the legal owner, that the degree of ownership that's being sold is currently and actively vested with the seller.
And when you say that, does that mean if they have a different kind of lien on the home, then that affects it? What do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, well, so liens, definitely we're looking for liens as well. So any unsatisfied liens, that's something that we're going to uncover in a title search. Say if I were to go sell my home today, I'm a single woman, so I could go ahead and I could just go sell my property. Now, if I were a married woman, we're in Washington State. This is community.
Homestead laws apply.
Homestead laws apply, and it's a community rights
property
or
estate.
community. Yes, thank you. Community property state. So marriage would change everything there. I couldn't just go out and say, hey, I own this home. I do own this home. But because my husband also owns it, then
Spousal rights are
exactly. So they would both be vested in the property in that sense.
Okay, so escrow is basically an arrangement between a buyer and a seller and a neutral third party. And in our case, I would be your neutral third party. It is an arrangement where I would collect and hold funds and legal documents throughout the course of the transaction. And at the conclusion of the transaction, then I disperse those funds according to the buyers and sellers instructions, which in our case, in real estate transactions, is the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay.
Those are our
So
instructions.
why did they come up with this neutral third party holding funds kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. I think to safeguard and out of kind of just convenience. One thing that you have to understand that as an escrow holder, I have to follow the letter of that purchase and sale agreement to the T. Those are my instructions, and they are mutually agreed. Both parties have signed. So those are my instructions. So I can't deviate from that. So that's kind of the protection part of it. So for instance, if the buyer can actually instruct me to hold on to the seller's funds if all of the contingencies haven't been met. Say maybe the roof was to be replaced and the work isn't finished at closing. So the buyer can instruct me to not release those funds. By the same token, the seller can instruct me not to release the deed to the buyer in the event that we haven't received all of the buyer's funds to close. So again, it's following that letter of that contract. That contract is our instruction, and we take instruction from both parties, and they have to be mutually agreed upon. So that's kind of the protection standpoint. I would say the convenience standpoint is that we do kind of all the work. Okay, that didn't come out quite right. Let me rephrase that. We do a lot of the work. We collect all those documents. They can give us reports, they can give us inspections, they can give us, legal documents, if we're having to prepare quitclaim deeds and, that sort of thing. Otherwise, all of that, if they were selling without an escrow holder, would fall on them to complete this journey on their own. So we kind of drive the bus, and if their instructions are clear and concise and mutually agreed upon, we can, as the escrow holder, really take a lot off of their plate in gathering what we need to close the escrow.
Okay, and when people open the escrow account, it's through the earnest deposit. Is that correct?
The earnest money.
Earnest money.
Yeah, really all we need to open escrow is the purchase and sale agreement. Earnest money is not legally required in a sales contract. It is customary, and it's because it creates an earnest offer to purchase the property, but earnest money is not required.
Just that Sandy is an absolute expert. If you ever have questions about escrow, it's really nice. We're here on the island. We have actual, humans who are local to the area who, really are at your service as far as if you do have questions and you're not sure who to go to, we're here for that. So,
okay.
So that's what we're all about.
Okay, fantastic.
And I would just like to add that it really is important to choose a good escrow company. It really is, and there are several. There are independent escrow offices that's all they do. There are escrow offices like ours that are affiliated with the title company. You can have an escrow attorney. Just make a good informed choice and choose carefully. Again, the escrow holder follows your wishes to the letter of that law, of that contract. So we really are a neutral third party watching out for the buyer and the seller's best interest.
So what happens if I have a bad escrow agent? What could happen?
Well, horrible things like they abscond with your money, or these things really do happen in our business. So do your due diligence and your research, and truly any escrow officer affiliated with the title company, we are governed by so many regulations and laws, and we are actually, in Washington, it's required that we be licensed, and we are licensed through the Washington State Bar. So
The bar.
the bar. Yes.
Okay,
we
like
take-
lawyer bar.
Yes. We take an actual legal exam through the Bar Association. It's called the Limited Practitioner's License. So we're an LPO, limited practice officer.
Okay.
And that's the designation that we have through the bar.
Okay. You have to do that exam before you even become title agent at all?
Before you become an escrow officer.
Okay. So what were the requirements? What were the requirements for you to become title and escrow?
So I actually
Sales.
Yes, I'm a sales
Beautiful
executive.
face and bubbly personality.
Thank you. So I actually play a different role. I kind of work as a liaison between title and escrow and between our clients, lenders,
Okay.
realtors, buyers and sellers sometimes, and so my role is really about offering educational information, helping people to grow their business, and being a support in any and every way, and building and maintaining customer relationships.
Well, the first thing that I would say would be find a good realtor. I think realtors are crucial to this process. I really do. You can do it on your own, but it takes a lot of knowledge and expertise to get a real estate transaction from start to finish, and that begins with a realtor and filters all the way down through Carly into our title department and into our escrow department.
Okay.
So that's just my biggest piece of advice would be find yourself a good agent.
What makes a good agent?
Oh gosh, background in the area, knowledge of the area, of the neighborhoods. The island is so crazy from a title standpoint with water rights and beachfront rights and CCNRs, homeowners associations, wells, septics. It's a good agent has been around for a while generally, although new agents are privy to so much information too. I mean, just find somebody. I think probably the best advice would be find somebody that you like and trust.
Somebody that I like and trust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the rest can be handled. I mean, if you find a new agent that has questions, they can find answers.
Okay.
Well, from a title side, Carly and I were talking earlier, I think the important thing for buyers to really look out for from our vantage point, they will receive a preliminary commitment for title insurance very early on after they open escrow with us. And in that, we recommend that you read it. People don't, because it's a lot of paper, and you're being inundated with paper and requirements and requests from lenders and from your escrow people. We all want you, we want your stuff. And so, but do take time to look through that, particularly pay attention that you are, as Carly alluded to earlier, that your vesting is correct, that your name is spelled right, that we've used middle initials or full middle names, if you've got a suffix, if you are a junior or a senior. Because that's going to be on the deed, and that's going to be how you take title. So we want to be sure that you are confident in how that's being handled. Secondly, I would say note the purchase price. Make sure that that's correct on the preliminary,
Okay.
and also the loan amount. If you have a lender involved, make sure that that's correct as well, because your fees are being charged based on those numbers for one thing.
Okay. I
So we
made
want
that
that
mistake
right.
the other day.
Ah,
Actually,
see?
it was a listing price. I think I was over by like $2,100, but it was just like at the time like we gotta get this fixed right now, right? Like okay, now I know, for next time, because I didn't think about it like that,
Yeah,
and so I just
that's
put
how
in
we
a
charge.
number and
That's how we charge based
Okay.
on that purchase price or the loan amount.
Yep.
Okay.
And the last thing, and maybe the most important thing from my perspective as a homeowner, pay attention to whether or not there are notations regarding homeowners associations on there, or CCNRs, covenants, conditions, and restrictions. Those things actually will affect the way that you are allowed to use your property. Things like maybe you have a dog and you want to put up a fence, and the CCNRs say you can't put up a fence. Well, is this really the house for you? Maybe you have an RV that you want to park in your driveway, and the CCNRs say you can't park your RV on the property. Again, maybe it's a deal breaker. So these things, and I can speak from experience with homeowners associations, they can regulate the color that you paint your house. I mean, they can be really hands-on. So just be sure that if you notice that there are CC&Rs in your title report, that you read the copy. There will be a hyperlink there, and you can read the entire document and make sure that whatever those conditions are not going to affect your ability to use and enjoy the property.
Well, so I would say, when it comes to choosing a title company, first of all, I would say, again, this is a big choice. You want to make sure that you're choosing a trustworthy title company, and because this is going to be for many people, the largest investment of their lifetime. Title insurance, it really covers two main categories of risk, like hidden hazards, things that we wouldn't actually, that we wouldn't necessarily be able to uncover in an initial title search, like fraud or forgery, or like unknown heirs, things like that, and then human error, right? So I would say that picking a well-known and trustworthy title company is going to really be a massive benefit to you in the long run.
Detail-oriented.
Yeah. And honestly, one of the nice things about our company is that we do offer preliminary title, which is that opportunity for you to review your title beforehand. And we also have a really, really nice feature that is unique to our company, where we do what's called a red flag report. Back to having a realtor that you know and trust, it's always nice to review that red flag report that our company offers you, so that if there is anything that raises red flags at the beginning, those can be addressed, right? And that we're pointing those out to you. And then there's going to be some things on a title report that may not be red flags to us, but that your realtor that you know and trust may be able to point out.
Okay.
Like if they know they're working with Sally Smith or something, and then the title report says Sally and Sam Smith, then that wouldn't necessarily be a red flag to us. Sally and Sam Smith own the property. Now the realtor would be the one to know, oh gosh, I haven't even seen or heard about Sam.
Even the lender might,
Sam.
because if they come out, they put in as a co-borrower that they're not married or not married or separated, right? And then if I get the title report back saying that, oh, now we have a husband, now I have to include his debts, his liabilities, his credit score.
And people forget that because they're separated does not make them unmarried.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how many times we come across that. It's like, okay, yes, you're separated, but you're still legally married.
Yes.
We still have to consider your spouse in this process. But something that Carly alluded to earlier with relationships, as a buyer, again, when I said it's important to find a good realtor that you like and trust, that realtor will likely have a business relationship with the title company and an escrow officer. And even if that isn't us at Chicago Title, that realtor is probably going to get the best service for his customer where he has that relationship, simply because he's got that relationship. So we really are truly a relationship built business.
Yeah.
We really are. We take our relationships very seriously and we cherish them dearly, because that's what keeps us afloat.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So build those relationships, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Find somebody you like and trust, and
Well, title insurance covers, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's two main risks, main categories of risk that it covers, and it's the hidden hazards, so like fraud, forgery, unknown heirs, what else? Just anything that wouldn't be able to be examined by title, like
wouldn't necessarily be of record.
Wouldn't be of record necessarily. And then human error, because there are humans that are involved. And as we know, little things happen. Someone might, transpose a number, and that's a human error. But so title insurance, it basically, it protects you from losses in the future that may occur from incidents that happened in the past.
Okay.
And it's kind of a hard concept to wrap your mind around, so that's why I wanted to give, or at least for me, sometimes it's hard to explain it. So I brought a nightmare story that may help.
Okay.
And this actually happened.
Honest to goodness, true title
here,
nightmare story.
yes, here in our state. So in King County, though, so in a different county, but on Mercer Island. This was probably 10 years back now, I think. But So a lovely couple purchased a $1.4 million plot of vacant land, just a modest piece of that.
Yeah, just a little something.
Yeah, $1.4 million piece of vacant land. And they went on to build their dream home on it. And they lived in it happily for 10 years until one day the owner of that property came home from the UK where he had been for the last 15 years to his land, and now there was a home erected on the land. So in this case, the buyers, it was not good, like really tragic and heartbreaking. With the buyers had been sold that property fraudulently. Now in Washington State and in America in general, I mean, property rights are huge, right? And we have so many protections, and we all play a role in protecting those rights, right? So so the owner of that property, it's still his property, even though unfortunately these folks were victims of fraud. So in this particular case, the issue was solved outside of court. They were able to settle. He ended up selling his property to them. But what would happen is that homeowner would have a claim against his title insurance. So your own title insurance that he signed on when he purchased that property, he would be able to go back to his title company, file a claim, and the title company's duty is to protect your title. We will go to court and protect your title for you if necessary. We pay any dues that are associated with protecting your title in court, and ultimately our goal is to get the owner of the property back into the home or the property, right? So in that case, title insurance is a massive, massive benefit to the to the homeowner, the property owner.
That's a very extreme case. And
That's extreme.
Thank goodness we don't see those all that often.
Yeah.
But little things that we normally do see is maybe a septic drain field encroaches on the property next door. Those kinds of things. Those are just normal little things that your title insurance, your title people, when they're doing their due diligence and examining title, they find that, and usually it's not a huge big deal, and we'll just put a paragraph in the title report that everybody understands that encroaches. Sometimes buyers and sellers will decide to do a boundary line adjustment or something of that nature.
Oh, okay.
But generally speaking, most title issues can be handled pretty easily. The big ones, you're dang glad for title insurance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically had to rebuy the property again, and there's nothing we really could have done about that.
It was sold fraudulently.
So someone got 1.4.
The seller was not the seller. And actually right now we're seeing, this is a big scam nationwide going on right now with vacant land properties. We are being double careful, doing twice the due diligence on ownership. Our company actually now at this point, because of what is going on around the country, we have a letter if we know our seller is absentee, doesn't live in the area or doesn't reside on the property, we send a letter at the onset of escrow to the owner of record on the tax rolls and say, hey, we've opened escrow on the sale of your property, congratulations. And to my knowledge, we haven't had anybody call and say, you did what? Yet, but we will.
But it totally makes sense on a vacant land like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've had no less than 3 instances of attempted fraud in our operation.
In Whatcom County.
In Whatcom County since the top of the year. So it's rampant. And
I know.
Unbelievable.
So
It's just plain scary.
It is. And one thing that I think should be noted too, that sets title insurance apart from, say, like health insurance or something like that. Title insurance is a one-time payment that you're making at the point of purchase.
Okay.
So
And it lasts you for the lifetime of your ownership. It's
exactly,
a
and your
one-time
heirs.
premium.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and your heirs. So that's correct, right? And so and your title insurance, you're paying that fee based on the sale price of the home. and yeah, you don't have to pay it ever again. It's like one and done, and then you're protected for the entire time that you own your home. So yeah. And then there's a lender's insurance as well. That
Yes.
would
The
cover-
lender's policy.
Yep.
Okay.
So the lender's policy would
And
cover
that basically just ensures the lien position of the lender. So we make sure that if your bank is doing the loan, we make sure that you are in first lien position on the property. And that's basically what the lender's policy does. It ensures your position or the lender's position on the loan in first position. Things that would take precedence over that would be like IRS liens or property tax liens. Those government liens are always first position liens.
Okay.
So those are the types of things, like when we were talking about liens earlier, that it's our responsibility to find, locate payoff information and pay those off at closing,
Okay.
so that the buyer doesn't inherit those liens.
I just ran into that issue.
See?
So buyer was selling the home. He was supposed to come out about $100,000 on top. We came back with a $50,000 second lien. Financing fell through, which was a blessing in disguise. Don't tell anyone. But the problem is that because they were down now $50,000, they couldn't qualify based on income for the new property. So we had to get co-borrower.
Shucks, yeah.
Now that's why we're running into issue. Are you married or unmarried? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. I gotta know that. I really gotta know that because it might, that is something that might catastrophically end the deal.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
In Washington State, always good to remember, you're either married or you're not.
Yeah.
And
There's no in between.
there's
it's
not.
like
So-
pregnant. You can't be a little bit.
yeah. You are, you're not.
You are, you're not.
So that's a good way to remember it. Is if someone's like, "Gosh, I don't know. Am I because I'm separated and I'm in the middle of divorce?" No, you're married,
So
unless you're divorced.
what other liens could exist?
Oh gosh, we see things like child support liens. We see, again, the government
Unpaid child
tax
support,
liens, property tax liens. There can be mechanics liens. If somebody has built a house or remodeled a house and didn't pay their subcontractors, the subcontractors can file what's known as a mechanics lien. What else?
I mean, and mechanics liens, while we're talking about those are something to really, that your realtor will tend to keep a little bit of an eye on too. So like if you are a realtor and you're listing a home and they've just done a complete reno, they've, something like that, that might be a good yellow flag at least to raise in the mind, to go, okay, so there's just been all of this renovation done. Let's get receipts on.
Well, and that's a good point. And actually, in our buyer questionnaire or our seller questionnaire, we ask, has any work been done on the house? Because we need to know that. We need to be able to call you and say, Mr. Seller, I see that you've just had a roof replaced. Has that invoice been paid? Or I see you've just undergone an extreme remodel. Have all of your vendors, all of your contractors been paid? And we may request receipts. Title is getting really fussy about making sure that we're not just taking people's word on, oh yeah, $700,000 remodel paid for, done.
Right.
Yeah.
And mechanic liens are also unique because the contractor who does the work has 90 days after the work has
Completion.
been completed to file a lien. So it may not be something that shows up on the initial
Right.
title report. So it's really important just to stay ahead of that. And so if you are aware that there have been renos done, then yeah, you want to make sure that you've got your paperwork. There'll be a lot of that.
And that's another reason that a title company will do what we call a date down. The day of closing, when escrow gives the okay to record, the title department will, or the recording department will do what they call a date down search and just make sure that they check their records from today's date now. Maybe that title report is 30 days old by now. So, we've been collecting documents and getting our funding together. So on the day of closing, they'll run another report to today's date and make sure that nothing new has popped up, no new liens, because, frankly, a tax lien could be filed anytime. So
Right,
could certainly a
right.
mechanics lien or any other type.
Right.
Okay.
So that's their due diligence in bringing that report current as of the day of closing.
Question for you: who can hold escrow?
Escrow can be held by virtually any neutral third party, any disinterested party to the transaction, meaning that you don't have a fiduciary interest. You're not a buyer or a seller. You're not the buyer's wife. You're totally independent of the transaction. In some states, Washington being one of them, in real estate transactions, escrow transactions, you do need to be licensed. And again, we are licensed through the Bar Association. But you can use an attorney, you can use a title company with an escrow office. There are independent escrow offices out there as well, that's all they do. So again, best advice, just do your due diligence. If you're not working with a realtor or a lender that has a preference and a relationship, then do your diligence and
Even if they have the relationship.
even if they have a
Yeah.
relationship,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Of course.
For you, Carly, what are some title issues and how can we clear those title issues?
Clearing title issues, I would say the number one thing I always like to drive home is, review your title report. It is there for a reason. It is so important. A lot of people are kind of turned off by 17 pages of legal jargon, and that's where we come in, that we have title officers here on staff in-house, who, if you have a question on your title report, you don't have to feel like, oh gosh, I need to learn all this myself. We are here for your support, right? And when you're working with a trusted realtor as well, they're going to be able to help walk you through those things and kind of clear up what some of this stuff means. Like you see CC&Rs, and that is the covenants, conditions and restrictions that Sandy had talked about earlier. Those kind of things really matter as far as your land use. So I would say review your title report. I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we offer something called our Live Look title report. Again, it's also known by some as a red flag report, but it's a super, super easy way. It's kind of like Cliff's Notes for your title report. Instead of having to, of course, you'll still get the 17, 18 pages or whatever it may be of your title report. Then it's kind of like a little summary where it shows, everything looks solid. But, here's these things that yellow flags are considered things that are pretty common to see on a title report, but they'll need to be cleared before closing. And then red flags are things that could impede a transaction. Not necessarily uncommon things, but that they're going to need to be taken care of before closing. Yeah, they're going to need to be addressed before closing in order for this transaction to close. Okay. So that would be my stern advice.
What are some closing day tips? We've gone through the process, we get to closing. What are things I need to consider and be aware of?
Okay, well, let me start with just how escrow closes out.
Okay.
So at the close of escrow, once all of the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale contingencies of the purchase and sale agreement have been met and cleared, then we are prepared to close escrow. Escrow is closed and the safe and accurate transfer of the property and the funds is then completed. So from my perspective, on a seller's side, we're going to want wire instructions to send us proceeds. At that time, we are paying off likely his existing mortgage so that lien comes off the title report for the buyer. We record those documents. We e-record here in Island County now, so we're not physically taking them down to the county anymore for recording, which is super awesome. We record the documents. We then let your realtor know if you have a realtor. If you don't, we would let you know that the property is recorded. That's typically when the keys are transferred, and that again generally comes with your real estate folks. But just knowing that it's a done deal and that it's recorded, that is really, you don't own the property the day of closing until somebody tells you you have recording numbers. That's your done.
That's my done.
That's your
recording
done.
numbers.
You've got numbers. You're
good. Sounds good. Sandy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Go ahead, Carly.
Thank you. Sandy really covered it as far as, all the things that are going to happen in escrow. But as far as a couple tips that are unique to Island County here, on the day of closing, you want to be sure that if you are the buyer of the property, you want to change the water sewage garbage with the city of Oak Harbor into your name, because you just have 24 hours to do that here. And how heartbreaking is it after you've gone through, 3 months of buying a home to have your water shut off after a day?
And get to pay that big turn-on price.
It's kind of tragic. So that would be like an we encourage sellers to, cancel their homeowners insurance on the day of closing too, because, that you can have a prorated amount coming back to you. Otherwise, if you don't cancel your homeowners insurance on your past, the home that you just sold, then you're missing out on a chunk of money that you're entitled to. So I think that's just a good tip.
Don't cancel it early.
No.
For heaven's sake.
No.
Don't cancel it early.
No,
Wait
you want
until you have recording numbers.
I was about to say, wait till the recorded number is, then cancel it.
Wait till the done deal.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
So now my final question, do any of you have anything, is there anything
Did
you
we
want to
leave
put?
anything out?
I think, I feel like we had such a fun time. It was a
Right?
thorough,
I know.
thorough way to
I
go
hope
through
it comes
everything.
across that we were smart and professional.
Yeah,
and
I
not
hope
just
so
fun,
too. I hope
'cause
so
we are
too.
fun.
Yeah, we really do it all.
Yeah.
So I would just say, reading your title report, choosing wisely, remembering that this is for most and for many, the largest investment of their entire lifetime is their home purchase. And so with that, title insurance is going to give you the peace of mind that you're going to want in this massive investment. So
Okay.
we look forward to working
Sandy?
with you.
I can just echo Carly's words, and again, you choose professionals that you like, trust, and can want to work with, and it's terrifying as a buyer starting out, and you are inundated by your escrow people looking for information, and your lender
Absolutely.
looking for information, and your inbox is exploding daily with requests for information. But do know that we all have your best interests at heart, and we are all trying to make your dream of homeownership come to fruition. So bear with us and provide the documentation as quickly and as effectively as you can, and we will do the rest.
Fantastic. I just want to thank you both so much for
Oh,
being
you're
my
so
guest on
welcome.
Lecture Hall. So
Thank you for having
don't
me.
forget to download your free home buying brochure with the link below that's at the bottom of this video. Consider giving us a call. If you have any questions, please reach out. Just simply comment in the comments below and we're going to get back to you. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Carly, so much.
Thank
Have a great
you.
rest of your day. Let's chat
pleasure.
soon.
Thank you, Cole.